This is DW News Africa. Coming up, why is Nigeria struggling to defeat insurgents and armed gangs? Deadly attacks and mass abductions. Violence is surging across northern Nigeria as families, soldiers, and communities pay the price. And there are growing doubts over whether recent US airstrikes are making any difference. Also coming up, hundreds of young Kenyans are competing for jobs abroad as Germany seeks to fill its labor gaps. They are driven by skills, ambition, and the hope of a better future. And the nation in AFCON celebration. Senegal are home, and the champions' welcome says it all. From packed streets to roaring crowds, the Africa Cup of Nations winners return. Hello there, I am Eddie Micah Jr., and you are welcome to the program. There were fresh attacks in Nigeria this week. Boko Haram insurgents and armed groups struck in the north of the country. The violence comes as Nigeria faces renewed scrutiny after police confirmed that more than 160 worshippers were kidnapped during Sunday church services in Kaduna State. Now, the attack was carried out by armed groups locally known as bandits, the latest in a wave of mass abductions affecting both Christians and Muslims. It comes just weeks after US President Donald Trump ordered airstrikes on militants in Nigeria. But observers say those strikes have done little to slow the violence.
Worship turned into terror. Churchgoers had gathered for Sunday's service in the village of Kuminvali when armed men stormed two churches, seizing both children and the elderly. One resident barely escaped the attack.
I was there. I ran away because I saw them. I was very, very afraid for seeing them. They gathered all the people, both the two churches, and then carried them away. That was what I saw.
The gunmen also besieged another church nearby. Local leaders say 163 people are still missing. Many families still have no word of their loved ones.
When
they came, they kidnapped my 2 wives and 3 children. Also, 2 of my brothers that have 3 children each are among those kidnapped. We have almost 20 victims just within our extended family that have all been kidnapped.
In December last year, the United States carried out airstrikes in Nigeria on the order of US President Donald Trump. He accused militants of targeting Christians. But officials and security analysts say most of the victims were civilians, and such one-off strikes do little to curb the violence spreading across the country. The Nigerian government and independent analysts insist there's no systematic persecution of Christians. They say attacks target both Muslims and Christians, often for ransom. This latest mass abduction follows a year of worsening insecurity across Nigeria, especially in the north. Armed gangs have carried out hundreds of kidnappings, targeting schools, markets, places of worship, and remote villages. Despite government assurances, right groups warn that the scale of kidnappings has grown, stretching from the northwest into central Nigeria. As families in Kuminvali wait for news of their loved ones, many fear the crisis is only deepening.
For more on this, I'm now joined by Nigeria's Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa. Hello, sir. Welcome to DW News Africa. So, Nigeria has been battling a terrorist insurgency and criminal violence for about 16 years. How would you describe the security situation today?
No, I think it's improving by the day. It's a lot better than it used to be, yes. There's no country that is 100% secured. You always have one conflict or the other. Nigeria has had its own share of it, but I can tell you the government is doing all the best in addressing those issues. It's work in progress, and I think we're achieving success.
Right. There are many in Nigeria who would argue that your best is still not enough, right? Because it's affecting lives every day. For years, military leaders have said insurgent groups were degraded or technically defeated, and yet the reality on the ground is that they remain active. What exactly is making the fight so hard for the military?
Well, I think the truth about it is that asymmetric warfare is a very, very difficult operation. Why it's difficult? Because in conventional warfare, you know you are dealing with one state or another state. You know their identity, you know where they're coming from. Here, you are dealing, the enemy is within. It's just like any other ordinary civilian that just looks, except if he carries a weapon, then you can identify him. So it makes it extremely difficult. And then you are also bounded by the rules of human rights. During conventional warfare, you could carpet a whole area in order to get your result, but now you can't afford to do that. So many situations where we are our troops are on operation and we have the ability to take out any, but because they're embedded with civilians, we have to call off. So it makes it extremely difficult because want to avoid human abusing the rights of other people. And so it's a very difficult operation. And it's an operation I always appeal to countries, never allow asymmetric warfare in your country, because it's a very, very, because you're dealing with ideology. It's not written on somebody's head. It's something that is inborn. So who is evil from within. Yeah.
Right. Can you understand that people that are listening to you now may be saying they are hearing excuses as to why you cannot fight terrorists in your country? How do you respond to that?
Yeah. Well, I don't blame them. I mean, if you don't understand something, it's always difficult to know how it goes. The truth is this, we have been on it. I can tell you now it's a lot better. Before now, so many schools are closed, so many markets not going, people can't do so much. But now, at least, the majority of Nigerians can move about. The last Christmas period, which is very important to Nigerians, especially in the southeast and other areas, people went home, celebrated, and came back safely. So there's a great improvement. Are we where we are? No. Are we on track? Yes, we're on track. And then we continue moving. You should always remember that in Nigeria, we don't produce the equipment that we use. Everything we need, we have to buy, and we have to buy in currency. Economy is trying to be balanced. There are so many demanding issues that have to be shared between the armed forces and other areas. So we don't really have all we need, but I'm happy that Mr. President has approved for our own defense industry to also partner with other original equipment manufacturers, because we believe if we're able to produce what we need, it will assist us a great deal.
Right. So just to hammer a bit more on this, before becoming Minister of Defense, you served as Chief of Defense Staff. That's the highest uniformed military position in Nigeria. You oversaw the Army, the Navy, and Air Force. Why couldn't you defeat Boko Haram and other terror groups during your time?
But like I told you, I mean, we've had countries that have fought with all the technology, they fought asymmetric warfare for over 20 years, and yet how did it end? So it will tell you that it is a very, very difficult operation.
Would you say that your forces are overstretched at the moment? Because, yes, Nigeria is fighting threats in the north and south and even the Middle Belt. Are your forces overstretched?
Yeah, well, we are surrounded by Francophone countries, sharing the common border with places like Niger with about 1,500 kilometers, Cameroon with about 1,700 kilometers, Chad, Benin Republic. It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot we are dealing with. We are not overstretched, but what we are doing now is we're also increasing on our own capacity, the armament, the manpower on ground, working together with other security agencies to do that. But like I told you, the greatest issue was that because we don't produce the equipment we need, and some of this equipment you don't get them off the shelf. You have to pay for them, you have to wait for them to be produced and all this. But now that we have started producing, I can tell you that we are now improving. We have local companies that are producing APCs, MRAPs for us that we're using. DICON is producing ammunition for our own troops. And so gradually we're also beginning to lift up. And I believe the more we do, the better it gets.
Right. There's one thing having the right ammunitions to fight terror. But there's also other challenges, aren't there? Nigeria's own intelligence reports suggest troops are facing frustration and demotivation due to late salary payments. Some even told DW they have limited ammunition. How can they tackle security challenges if the basics like bullets are lacking?
I think I think maybe in the past, not now. Not now. Anybody telling you that is probably a coward or doesn't want to fight. But I can tell you for real, as I was being the chief of defense, and before then I was a brigade commander, I was a commanding officer. I know how it used to be years back, but for now, troops are paid salary as at when due, allowances are being paid. Whatever it is, those ones that are injured are being taken care of. Nobody will tell you that he doesn't have ammunition to fight. Anybody who says so is a coward.
So you have, so you have all the ammunitions to fight terror now. Is that what you're telling me?
We have ammunition. Yes, we have ammunition to fight. Basic equipment like helicopters, drones. We need more.
Right.
But I can tell you efforts are being made. The government is doing so much now in addressing these issues. It will continue to get better, but it is going to be very slow and very gradual.
Very slow, very gradual. This is why we've been talking about this for more than 15 years and unfortunately counting. Let's talk about foreign support. The U.S. military carried out airstrikes on Islamic State-linked militants. That was in the northwest Nigeria with Nigerian approval, I understand. So is Nigeria safer after those strikes?
At least it gave an impact. It gave an impact that, yes, support also could come from above. And we know the capacity and capability of the U.S. forces. And that strike has sent a message that the government is willing, in partnership with other friendly nations, our own allies, to work together to get results. Because, like we said, asymmetric warfare is international. These guys just didn't start for it. They're having support from outside. They're operating from outside. They're getting leadership from, and all this equipment are coming from outside. So making it international makes it holistic.
Just like me, there are many that are wondering, you know, the tangible results that have been achieved after the U.S. strike. Because we've just seen more attacks on churches in Kaduna.
Yes, you know, again.
So sorry not to cut you. So I guess the question is, the question is, sorry, not to cut you. We you know, the U.S., you know, they struck parts of Nigeria. People are wondering if that, you know, moved the needle in any way, because there's been more and more attacks. Churches in Kaduna were recently attacked. Is there a likelihood of more U.S. strikes inside Nigeria?
Like I said, we're working closely. We want to build our own capacity so that we can do some of these things. Yes, the U.S. is assisting with a lot of surveillance, a lot of information, real-time info that will enable us to do much. Again, what I was saying is that in situations like, you remember that this year is an electionary year, you cannot rule out the fact that some people want to make the place ungovernable to show that there is no peace. But I can tell you things are improving, and we're going to go after them, including our partners and allies. But most of the work will be done by our own troops. Rightfully
so, we've been talking a lot about military force. It seems military force alone has not worked for 16 years. So how will your operational experience shape your defense ministry goals?
Military work is doing so much, but it's just about 30% of the solution. Most 70% is the non-kinetic after, and that has to do with good governance, fairness, justice, equity, removal of hunger, poverty, illiteracy. Now, the government is also addressing those issues critically, reaching out to our neighbors and working together for them to understand that they also have a role. Now, what we are adopting is all of the government and all of society approach. We have tried in the Northeast where when everybody is supporting the military, supporting the security forces, we get better results. You know why some of these guys are thriving? We have certain individuals that give them information about troops movement, troops location, give them logistics, fuel, water, food, and all that. These are the things that are aggravating these issues and making it prolonged. But we can assure you that efforts are being made to track them using technology to address those issues. And because those things we don't produce, it takes time to get those things to work. But based on our own experience, I think we're on the right track. Right.
Wrapping it up, I'm just wondering what victory over insurgency will actually look like for Nigeria. How would citizens recognize it when it arrives?
I mean, you feel it in the air. I mean, it's something you always see. I mean, like I said, schools will open freely, markets will work, production will continue within the country, the economy will develop. I'm sure Nigerian economy has continued to grow. This year, we're hoping to do 5.0% to show you that things are going, because if the insurgency is not being defeated, we can't grow. But you can see that despite this, because we have diminished their capability to that extent, things are improving and things will continue to improve. So for us, it's very important that we remain very positive, working together as a team, as Nigerians, taking responsibility of what's going on within us, and not allowing those insurgents to have any foothold in our land, in whatever way. Because sometimes they come in and tell you they are your brothers, they are your family members, or they are your religion or your tribe, you should take them in. No. We have appealed to Nigerians to understand that these guys have no respect for life. They kill anybody that comes their way, and it's important that we stay together.
Right. So many more questions I would have loved to ask you, but due to time, we'll leave it here. General Christopher Musa, Nigeria's Minister of Defense, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
In 2024, Kenya and Germany signed a migration partnership aimed at opening legal pathways for skilled Kenyan workers to move to Germany. Now, since then, recruiters from Germany have been turning to Nairobi in search of qualified talent. Our correspondent, Felix Maringa, was at one of those recruitment drives and sent us this report.
When they were halfway up, they were...
These are the select few. 400 of them applied, all hoping to work in Germany's hospitality industry. But only 34 of them had the required skills and expertise in speaking German. Ruth Wairimu is one of them. For her, the chance of working in Europe represents a rare and prestigious opportunity.
I'm hoping for good payment and fair payment. I'm also hoping for good working conditions and environment. I'm also hoping to make more connections here in Germany and to make a new family, since this is also a new life that people have chosen to start away from home.
26-year-old Alfred Mboro hopes to become a professional chef in Germany in the near future. He has taught himself German, but that has not been without its challenges.
Many sleepless nights studying the language and also preparing for this interview. It has not been easy. It has not been easy. It's this opportunity. This is a lifetime opportunity. So the stress and the pressure from everywhere, it's a lot.
Germany's International Agency for Development, GIZ, partnered with Bavarian Hotels for this recruitment drive.
We support in Kenya as a supply side, so we have, let's say, a good match between what is required in Germany or what it takes to be successful in Germany and what we can prepare here.
Catherine Karanja represents the German hospitality industry and has over 15 years' experience.
Language is the first thing because they will be doing a dual system. They will be going to school and they will be working in the hotel. So language is number one. And then the second thing is passion for hospitality and also motivation. So you have to bring this, this passion for hospitality and just this willingness and openness to learn new things and to start a new life in Germany.
For Ruth and Alfred, working in Europe's top economy would be a dream come true.
Right. Well, German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul is making his first visit to the African continent. The trip comes at a key moment for Germany's foreign policy as Berlin looks to deepen ties on security, trade, and skilled migration. DW's Richard Walker spoke to him in Nairobi about Germany's ambitions.
So we're here in Nairobi with Germany's Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul, who's visiting the region. Mr. Wadephul, thank you for your time, for speaking to DW. So we're here in Kenya. There are so many powers here kind of vying for influence, vying for deals. You really feel it on the ground here. You have the Gulf states, you have the United States, and of course, most famously, China as well. You're here representing Germany. You say that you want German companies to come here, take the opportunities. Looking at it from the other side, what's your argument to the Kenyans that it's Germany that they should be doing business with and not so much the Chinese?
No, we were the first country to recognize the new Kenyan state in 1963, the year when I was born. And since then, we have a very long-standing relation with Kenya, very reliable relation. We're working together on various sectors. But of course, the room of enhancement is very huge, I would really say. In Germany, perhaps also as some other European countries, made the mistake to look to the north of Africa and to the south of Africa, and for a long time to oversee the opportunities which lay ahead here directly in Kenya and the neighboring countries. So we are reliable. We are sticking to the agreements we have made. The Kenyans know the Germans for a very long time, and for the future, we are with the international rules-based system. We are defending the United Nations, which have a big hub right here in Nairobi. So there are a lot of overlapping interests and values. And that is the very reason that I am advocating for more cooperation between our respective countries.
I mean, you've also talked, if we look more broadly at your foreign policy, you've talked about wanting to put interest front and center, and implicitly suggesting that it, values maybe a secondary, whereas for some of your predecessors, maybe values have been really up front. Sort of pragmatism rather than preaching, kind of in a sort of a short epithet. I want to ask about what that means kind of on the ground in this region, because of course it's a region that has faced many human rights issues, the kind of issues that Germany has been worried about in the past. I mean, does it mean that Germany is tempted to kind of turn a blind eye to human rights abuses when they do happen? I mean, for instance, here in Kenya, a year and a half ago, in 2024, there were these protests by young people, Gen Z protests, where there's a lot of dissatisfaction that there were abuses accused, that there has been insufficient justice meted out. Is this something that you raised with your counterparts, maybe not in public, but behind closed doors at least?
Of course I do. But somebody told us some months ago, if China comes to our region and we have a conversation afterwards, we have an airport. If you come from Germany or from Europe, we receive a lecture. So that cannot be the difference between the two of us. And that is the very deeper reason that we lose ground, especially here in Africa. So we have really to be careful. Of course, never be blind-eyed on human rights. We will always and ever be advocating for these humanitarian rights, for these basic laws which have to be obeyed. This is always clear for Germany, but we have always also to be able to define our interests and to be effective with countries who really are looking for partners with whom they can reach something for their society, for their economy, and of course also for strengthening democracy and human rights. So that has to go hand in hand, and my idea is for balancing out that in a new way, and to perhaps in these days be more pragmatic and be more focused on our common interests. And if we do so, I would say that also will serve in the end of the day that the countries who have a democratic orientation will be stronger than they were before.
One of the areas that Germany and Kenya are very focused on in terms of business cooperation is skilled labor.
Yeah.
And Germany is seeking to get skilled labor into many of its sectors. You were asked at the press conference earlier today, along with your Kenyan counterpart, if there are concerns about a brain drain. There's quite a debate going on about whether, if it goes too far, something like this export of skilled labor into developed countries such as Germany could cause a brain drain, is essentially resource extraction of a new kind. You said you're not worried about that, but are you conscious of that as a danger that people need to think about and potentially adjust policy in the future?
Though I'm a lawyer, I'm looking to the numbers of people who are moving to Germany, and they are too low right now. We need more of them being willing to work in Germany or in other European countries, because Europe, and Germany especially, is overaged. We know that we need these skilled workers, and we know that we have to engage them to come into our countries. That means, of course, for the countries where they come from, that you have these very discussions, and I'm very aware of that happening. But if you really analyze how many are coming, This is far away from being a brain drain for this very country, as we see here very young societies which have birth rates we have had in Europe perhaps some 100 years ago.
Johan Waardevol, many thanks.
Yes, my pleasure.
Right, well, that's it for now. For more of our stories, visit our website or social media. But before we go, let's take a quick look at Senegal's victory at the Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. Lifting the trophy set off scenes of jubilation from the final whistle to the team's return home. Well, in Dakar, huge crowds poured into the streets to welcome the players as national heroes. The state honored the squad with cash rewards and plots of land, marking the scale of the achievement.